Hey, this is Representative Adrian Tam from Hawaii, and if you want to build an abundant and meaningful life you are proud of, you should listen to My Voice, Our Story with my good friend Cielo.
Do you want to create an abundant and meaningful life you're proud of, but don't know where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to the My Voice, Our Story podcast. My name is Cielo. I'm a former TV journalist turned entrepreneur in a quest to build an extraordinary life. I believe that success is a direct reflection of our daily routine and choices. So join me as I engage in unfiltered conversations with the most influential minds of our generation to learn their secrets to a thriving life. If you want tangible tips on how to cultivate habits that will transform your life spiritually, financially, and emotionally, you got to keep listening in. So let's get started. Hello, welcome back to another episode of My Voice, Our Story podcast. This is your host, Cielo. Hi guys, hope everyone's having a wonderful week. And if you're not, I'm sending you a virtual hug, hoping things get better. Today, I am speaking with a politician, which is something very different that I haven't done in a while. I was just thinking about that the other day. In fact, I haven't really spoken to a politician since I left CNN, and that was almost 5 years ago. Crazy how time flies. So this is going to be very interesting. The name of my guest is Adrian Tam. He became a household name last year when he defeated ultra-conservative proud&rsquo leader in Hawaiian elections to become the only openly gay member of the Hawaii State Legislature. Adrian is going to share with us a little bit about his fascinating political career. I mean, he's only 28. That's pretty crazy. And later, we're going to dig deep on the topic of how to handle criticism, which is something we all have experienced to different extents, and it can be something really hard to deal with. So Adrian is going to get very real about the struggles of coping with criticism as a politician and provide tangible tips on the matter. But before we start, really quickly, if you're an entrepreneur with a six-figure business or more and you want to increase your digital presence to take your business to the next level, we are here to help you. Plenty W, the media production company that produces My Voice, Our Story, provides SEO, that stands for Search Engine Optimization, content and strategy services that can help you improve your rankings in Google within 6 months. So, if you are a business and you want to escalate it and get more clients, this is for you. If you're interested in learning more about our services, just send us an email to outreach@plentyw.com. That's outreach@plentyw.com to book a free consultation today. Back to the show. Let's begin. Hello there, my friends. Welcome back to the My Voice, Our Story podcast. Adrian, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I want you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, my name is Adrian Tam. I am a state representative in Hawaii. I'm currently the only openly LGBT state legislature in the state. And at the age of 28, I am one of the youngest too.
Wow, that's so impressive. I feel intimidated.
No, you shouldn't be.
Wow, so accomplished. So you grew up in Hawaii. Tell me, how was growing up in Hawaii?
So growing up in Hawaii is a lot different than growing up in the mainland. And even my story growing up in Hawaii is a lot different than other people. I'm the son of immigrants. And, growing up, I had parents that English wasn't their first language. And that was definitely a struggle growing up and to try to learn English when it's not spoken at home. But at the same time, I'm really proud of my parents because they came from little to nothing. Like we grew up in, EAH housing here, which is, government subsidized low income housing. And they were able to start their own small business as immigrants and grow it into something that they can be proud of, that is successful, that really encompasses what the American dream is about. And throughout all of it, they continue to raise both me and my sister very well. They taught us the meaning of hard work, the meaning of giving back. And that's kind of the reason why I decided to run for office too, is because, I want to contribute to society and I want to have a voice to help those who can't help themselves and to, try to make things better here for my friends and my peers.
Yeah, so how did you get involved into politics?
When I graduated from college...
Where did you go to school?
I went to Penn State University.
Okay.
And when I graduated from Penn State, I came back to work for my mom's small business, which is a small real estate firm, and I got licensed as a realtor. But how no one want to trust someone that just graduated from college with the biggest financial decision of their lives. So I wasn't getting enough clients. So I decided to take on a temporary session job here at the Capitol that was 5 months long. And I fell in love with community service. It was one of the funnest things that I've ever had. I never thought that I'd love a job like that. So I started getting involved with politics. I got involved with different organizations and campaigns. I tried my best to elect good people that I believed in. And I helped this one person on his campaign, and he won. His name was Senator Stanley Chang. After that, Senator Chang brought me on as his manager for his office. And that's where I was for 3 years until I decided that, I wanted to run for office myself. I wanted to make a difference. And on my first time, I was able to beat a 14-year incumbent in the primary and went on to the general and beat my Republican opponent to get elected.
So this was like 2020, right? Last year?
Yes, this was 2020. So literally last year during the pandemic.
So you're basically the only openly gay member of the Hawaiian State Legislature. How does it feel to be the first one, the pioneer?
It feels interesting, but I will say that I wasn't the first.
You were not the first one?
Yes. Before me, there was Blake Oshiro.
Okay.
And I think there were several others, but their names are slipping my mind. For a while, we didn't have anyone in the legislature that was openly gay. So there wasn't that voice. And for a while, we didn't pass, a conversion therapy ban. We didn't pass a gay panic defense ban. And we didn't pass a bill that would allow homeless, unaccompanied minors to consent to no-cost emergency shelters. And I'm happy to say that now we do. Conversion therapy ban came in 2018. The gay panic defense came in 2019. And just this past year, I introduced a bill that would allow minors to consent to no-cost emergency shelters. And that passed and was signed into law just a month ago.
Wow, that's good work. You're probably very busy. So before we even talk about your political career, take me back to your childhood years. When was the first time you realized you were gay?
I came to terms with it in college. In college is kind of where you're kind of discovering yourself. You're kind of, in new territory. And one of the reasons why I went to Penn State was because I wanted to leave the islands and experience what it's like on the mainland. And one of the things that, I found that was very difficult was not the fact that I was gay, but being Asian. So in Hawaii, we are a predominantly Asian community. But when I went to Penn State, I was no longer in the majority. So I had to really adapt to that. And that was the most difficult part. But coming out was pretty easy to a lot of my friends. And for my family, the biggest hurdle with the family was that they were concerned because at the time when I came out, marriage equality wasn't a thing yet. People were still trying to accept.
How long ago was this?
This was back in 2012.
Oh, wow. It's been a while. Okay.
And I understood my parents' concern. They wanted what's best for me. They were really worried. But I'm glad that we made a lot of progress since then with marriage equality. And when I got elected, all those concerns they had just, flew out the door and they were really proud and they're really happy.
So you basically run a political campaign. You probably know political campaigns are not easy by any means. But one interesting fact is that you actually ran against the Republican Party candidate was Nicholas Oak, which happens to be someone affiliated to the Proud Boys movement. As a person of color that's gay, did you have any fears when you were running against this candidate? And how did you overcome these fears?
I didn't have fears of my own. For myself, no. For me, I'm not afraid of him because I think he's a coward. And I'm happy to say that. But what I did fear was any retaliation towards my supporters or my constituents. I didn't want them to get hurt. I didn't want them to get harassed. I'm the candidate. I'm the one who should be taking all the knives. I'm the one who should be taking all the attacks. And like I said, I'm not afraid of him. But I was afraid of what he could have done to one of my supporters or my family members or my friends, and my constituents. And that's what I was mostly afraid of.
What was the most valuable lesson you learned from the campaign?
I think the most valuable lesson I learned was to continue to work hard. I think that, it's not just my campaign. I saw other campaigns where people have gotten a little bit too relaxed. They switched on autopilot and they lost their seat or they lost their race, even though they were the clear favorite. And that's hard to do because I know a lot of people are not willing to put in the work for a campaign. And that's why when I hear people say that they want to run for office, I immediately think to myself whether or not they could do it if I knew what kind of personality they have. I will be honest with them if they say they want to run for office, and I'll tell them, I don't think that's the best option because it's a lot of hard work. And if you're not willing to do the hard work, then it's a lot of your time wasted. Sure, you might have gained some experience to it, but, you run to win, to make a difference, not you run to get experience for yourself.
Oh, that's a really good way to put it. A lot of people just kind of run with a very personal agenda. And I feel if you're not very passionate about the issues at stake, it's really hard to overcome all the hurdles.
Yeah. Politics isn't a game, in my opinion. People think it's a game, but it's really about passing policies to help your community.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were just talking about some of the policies that you're very passionate about. How are you using your position and your platform to address them?
Well, I take it, from my own life experiences. I myself am a 28-year-old, turning 29, a young professional here, and housing is almost depleting. We have a housing shortage right now. We have an economy that's too dependent on tourism that is depleting our resources where, for example, Maui right now cannot handle its capacity of tourism, where people are getting fined if they were to water their lawn because of a water shortage, or if they wash their car. And, I'm just like, this is not the kind of economy that is sustainable. This is not the kind of economy that will help young professionals like me. So, one of the things that I'm very passionate about is diversifying our economy. If you look into Hawaii's economy, I describe it as a three-legged bar stool. You have tourism as one leg, construction as another, and the military. And what happens when you take away one of the legs of the bar stool? It no longer becomes a bar stool and it can no longer carry a person, or much less an economy. So what we need is another leg, another economy that complements the three, so that when one of those collapses, our economy can still sustain itself and hold it together. I believe that, it can be agriculture. It can be sustainable agriculture, but something that's new and hasn't been really done in the past yet, I think, is green technology. How do we go green and be renewable? I think that it's a combination of research into land reclamation, solar, smart grids, hydropower, and green infrastructure. So I'm working with a lot of stakeholders right now at the university to come up with a concept to bring it into fruition. This past year, we got the ball rolling with a Green Jobs course program that would use ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan funds, to invest in a green job program for our young people here. So, when this industry is built, they have the skills to work in it and to stay in Hawaii.
Wow, that's great. And how do you stay connected to your constituents to understand, first of all, their concerns and needs, and second, feedback on the work that you are doing for them?
It's just listening to the community. I am an advocate for my community, which is Waikiki and Ala Moana. And what they feel is what I feel, and that is what I will advocate for. In my community, it's very mixed. So we have a lot of senior citizens, and we have a lot of people that are in their final year of college or just graduated college that are living in an area in Waikiki. Like a large portion of Waikiki is part of that. It's a mix of advocating for, senior citizen issues, for such as condo rights and noise, to the diversification of our economy, to address, and the cost of living, to address our college students. I get a lot of my feedback from just being out in the community and talking to them. I go to as many community events as I can, and I get back to as many emails as I can from them.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, feedback is everything when you're a politician. So how long have you been in the position?
I've been in the position actually a total of 9 months.
9 months? It hasn't been that long yet. So what are your future political aspirations? What do you hope to achieve in the next 3 years?
Oh, yeah. Right now, my biggest political ambition is to just pass a bill that would really put us on solid footing with how we deal with our economy and cost of living. I don't have any future plans to jump to another political office. I'm not leaving that off the table, though.
Yeah, because you never know.
Like, I never thought I'd be running for this office, for example,
I feel it happens a lot in politics. I actually just finished reading A Promised Land, the book that President Obama wrote. And one of the things that I was shocked to realize is that he never really thought that he would be running for office. He was just very passionate about grassroots issues that it organically led to that.
Yeah, you have to be a part of the, system to try to change the system.
And what do you say to people that basically do not believe in politics because they feel the whole system is corrupted?
I say that, politics is dirty.
Okay.
But it's the ones who say politics is dirty that don't want to get involved with politics, and the ones that are corrupt that do. And when they think that, and if everyone thought that way, that politics is dirty, then we will never have good people in politics.
Yeah. And the thing is that if we don't have good people that actually want to make a difference in politics, then nothing is ever going to change.
If you think politics is dirty, get in there and change it, Get the corrupt politicians out.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Now, I want to dig a little bit deeper and ask you a more personal question.
Okay.
So you've had a lot of wins. I mean, you won the election, you have a very successful political career, but that usually comes at a cost. What have you had to sacrifice or lose in the past years to get where you are today?
I think some of the big losses that I've had, was definitely heartbreak and a lot of my personal life. So some of the things that I had to give up was, having time to enjoy the things that I love to do. I play tennis a lot less now. I golf a lot less. I have less time with friends and family. But, I keep telling myself that it's worth it because you're doing whatever you can to make a difference in their lives.
Yeah, sometimes to make something happen, you have to make sacrifices. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So what is one habit that you think you've cultivated in your life that has helped you in your professional career?
I think one habit that I have kind of created was being able to talk slowly. It allows you more time to think before you speak so that you don't have your foot caught in your mouth.
Yeah, that's crucial when you're a politician.
It is
because words matter.
Definitely important. I've seen a lot of people who've had their foot in their mouth that has ruined their political career because of it.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure there.
Before I would, I would just say things off the bat and just be very quick with what I say. But now I learned that I need to slow down so that I can think about each word that comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, that's important. And I think it's not only politics and everything you'll do in life, because sometimes you'll hurt people with the words you say. Yeah. That's my advice to you guys. Think before you say something.
Make sure it's something you really want to say.
Yeah, it's happened to me before. And I think that's something I've learned through my 20s. I really need to think before I say something because I don't know how the other person's going to take it. especially when you're mad and you just want to spit out something and you're like, no, I'm just going to walk away, take a deep breath and then come back.
Yeah, I had some constituents call me and they said some really angry things, but when I called them back, they're like, oh, I was venting. I was mad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, actually, that was going to be my next question. How do you handle criticism?
I just take it. If you have something to say it to my face. And usually when they are face to face with me, that criticism goes away because they're not willing to. But, I told them, just give me the criticism because that makes me a better representative for them. I want feedback so that I can be the best representative for them, best leader for them. One thing that I've gotten criticism for was that my newsletters and my emails are not that interesting, they said, that it's all about what's happening at the legislature. So I said, okay, well, what would you want? What would be interesting to you? And they said, well, we would want to see what resources are available. We would want to see more resources, not what's going on. They would rather see resources instead of like a news report. So I said, okay. So I switched it up a little bit in my newsletters. So now my newsletters will have like a list of resources. And one thing that I have done was that I sent a list of handy numbers that people can call for, if they needed a trash pickup or a sidewalk repaired or a light fixture done on the street. They can call this number so they don't have to call me. They can call it directly themselves and they can, put it on their fridge. So I sent each one of my constituents a handy numbers form.
Yeah, that's great. I think when it comes to criticism, it's really learning to separate constructive criticism from the noise. Because these days, social media obviously has amplified the message of people, but at the same time, it has created a very toxic environment. Have you ever been targeted of social media harassment or cyberbullying?
Oh, yeah. During my campaign, my Republican opponent and all his supporters flooded social media that I had to turn off a lot of notifications from people that aren't following me on Twitter. And what I've learned is, and this is another habit, which is don't read the comments.
Nice. Don't read the comments, guys.
Don't read the comments because, sure, the comments will reflect some views, but you have to separate what's in the comments from what your constituents actually want. And almost 100% of the time, there's only 1% of those comments are your constituents. And 99% are from Facebook trolls or people living in Oklahoma who have no say in Hawaii politics, but somehow
they feel that they have an opinion.
Yeah, but somehow comments on how we handle our tourism strategy, our reopening strategy, or our gun control laws.
Wow. I think it's so important to learn to filter, right? And I think that's really the challenge.
The biggest example was that there was a gun control bill that was introduced. And a lot of offices around our building were flooded with phone calls. But when we listen to these phone calls, there are people from West Virginia, Oklahoma, Kansas. Those aren't our constituents. Those aren't the people that we represent. They have their own representatives that they should be talking to. And their representatives are not introducing the gun control laws. So it's a matter of filtering it, the bullies and the trolls from your voters and the people you represent.
Don't you find it ironic that majority of people leaving bad comments on social media have nothing to do with your brand and they don't even know you?
Yeah.
I guess the best way for you to deal with that would be to give them the contact information of their representatives so they can contact them and complain to them.
Yeah. Here's your Oklahoma representative. Go talk to him or her.
Go bother him. So what piece of advice do you have for someone that is just starting, maybe just graduated from college, kind of lost and don't know what to do with their lives? Like, what advice do you have for them?
The single biggest advice I can give to anyone, whether it's in politics or in the private sector, is to always be yourself. There will be many times in your life, in your career, where you will be pressured to be someone you're not. And all I can say is you're going to have to power through it and just continue to be yourself, because authenticity is going to be your greatest asset. And it's what's going to resonate with the people around you. No one's going to fall for fraud. No one's going to resonate with a fraud. And when they do, it often doesn't turn out well for the fraud or the person surrounding the fraud or being around that person.
Yeah, I love that. It's so important to be authentic. And I feel it's really hard. In the world that we live in today, social media, Instagram, people creating perfect alter egos and thinking that your life sucks.
Yeah.
So what piece of advice do you have for young people to deal with the pressures of society?
And all I can say is to them, you have one obligation, and that is to yourself. You have to be happy. It's not your job to make everyone else happy, unless you're a representative, or it's your job to make your constituents happy.
Where it's your job to make people happy, and then, well, then you don't have a choice there.
But here's the thing. I was myself the entire campaign. What you see is what you get, is what I told my constituents. And that resonated with them. They don't want fake politicians that are filtering everything. They don't want politicians that, say one thing and then does another. Or hide.
Which I'm going to be honest, are majority. So you're probably very refreshing change there.
Yeah. Thank you. That's one of the things that I am really proud about, was that during this entire campaign, I never had to change my personality.
Yeah. I mean, this is who you are.
Yeah.
I feel that it was harder before, but now because social media and being just more connected than ever, I feel that young people specifically, they can read all over the BS of a candidate that's not being very truthful and authentic. It's like, okay, this guy, he's just here for financial profit or maybe personal profit, but doesn't really care. So I think that's something I've noticed more about young people, which is incredible. Back in the days, it was really hard. There was such a big disconnection between constituents and the representatives. But now I think that's the good side of social media. It allows you to communicate with people and feel that you can be honest and at the same time address the issues that you really care about in your community. Thank you so much, Adrian, for your perspective as a politician. I feel often journalists get to see the full picture from the outside, but we don't get to fully understand it because obviously we're not part of the institution. So I find this conversation refreshing. Now, before I let you go, we like to end things on a lighter note. So I'm going to ask you a couple of fun questions. The first one is, if you would not be a politician, what would you be doing right now?
I would love to be a commercial airline pilot.
Nice.
Yes.
Wow, you like airplanes and flying?
I want to travel for free or get paid for it.
Oh, I love that. Yes, traveling for free is everyone's dream, I think. Now, if you could sit with someone past or present for like an hour and talk about anything, who would that person be? It
would be someone very obscure that not many your listeners may know, unless they're like history buffs. It would be John Sherman. He was a senator from Ohio during the Civil War era. And the reason why I picked him is because he was the one who first thought of antitrust, who created the Sherman Antitrust Act in America, which protected a lot of consumers from, cutthroat competition businesses and illegal monopolies. At the same time, he was, I think, the only senator that voted against the Chinese Exclusion Act.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about this guy. What would you ask him?
I would definitely ask him, his thought process of what he does to come up with a position, his philosophies on other issues that are not about, antitrust or finance or the economy. But, what does he think about foreign policy? Because he was also the Secretary of State at one point.
Wow, he's very accomplished. He was very active politically. I think he would have been a great mentor to you, especially because you also have politics in your DNA. Now, I'm curious, is there any specific book that inspired you to become a politician and that you think people should read?
I think one book that I recommend is probably a book that everyone has already read, though, but I recommend reading it again over and over, which is To Kill a Mockingbird. I think it's such a good book. It is such a good book to read when, you're in a fighting mood. If you want to enact change, just reread it and get motivated to make a difference.
Ooh, I love that. Yes, because I feel everyone can make a difference. It's just a lot of people are lazy.
Yeah, you don't have to be an elected official to make a difference. You can volunteer for a campaign or, testify on bills or even just voting.
Voting, yeah, it's very important. A lot of people don't vote, and I honestly don't know why.
Yeah.
Voting is a privilege, guys. A lot of people have fought in the past to have that privilege, so make sure you go out and vote. Now, before we wrap up, I want to ask you a My Voice Your Story question. What is your definition of success?
I think my definition of success is definitely happiness. I don't measure it by money. I don't measure it by power. I think that when you're happy with yourself, you're secure about yourself, that's success, because success is very subjective and everyone measures their success in many different ways. And for me, the way I measure it is whether or not I'm happy. And right now, where I'm at in this position, I am very happy because I can see the difference that I'm making in my community.
Yes, I love that you have so much passion for your work. I think finding a job that makes you happy and that you love, it's so important. Because if you really think about it, majority of people in the world spend 80 to 90% of their time at work.
Yeah. Find a job that you actually like.
Absolutely. Well, before letting you go, is there any specific site where you're very active social media and where people can connect with you?
I haven't really been active on social media till recently. I guess Instagram would be the most active, or Facebook, sometimes Twitter. But, when I'm on the computer, it's mostly to answer emails. And for my leisure time, it's watching Netflix.
So honest. I love that. Well, for anyone out there that's listening to the episode that has political aspirations, you now know who to contact.
Yep.
I'm sure you'll be really good at giving advice because I like your vibe. You are very real.
Thank you. I like this podcast. This is a very fun podcast.
Well, you've also been a great guest. Thank you so much for taking your time and being here. Good luck on your endeavors.
Thank you so much. And have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That is all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have an incredible lineup of guests, so you're not going to want to miss any of our episodes. Also, connect with us on Instagram and join our Facebook group at My Voice Your Story for more tips on how to live your best life.